All right, everybody. Hi, how are you? Happy Thursday afternoon. It is noon here in the DFW Metroplex. I'm Pugs Moran. This is Pugs Moran Live, the daily noon show where we try and go through, as much as we can as far as what's trending and what's happening in the world. Got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today. Let me just run down quickly some of the things that we're going to get into if you stick around here for the next hour or so. Let me see here. What do we got? Well, first of all, it's National Dog Day. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we'll get into that. Also, by the way, I should tell you, if you want to follow the show, we do it twice daily. We do it at noon and we do it again at 10 o'clock at night. You can follow and be kept up to speed on everything that we're going to be engaging in, discussing right there. Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube, the web. That web, pugscast.com. That's a cheat code. That's just something that's going to get you, because it's hard to find this show on YouTube if that's your preferred means of listening. We are on YouTube, but, Pugs Moran Live, that's about 1,000 pages away from the top because apparently a lot of pug dogs have YouTube shows. A lot of YouTubers who happen to be pug dogs, apparently. Now, there's just like a whole bunch of them. So what we've done is we've created this little cheat place. You can go to pugscast.com for the time being, and you just click on that. It takes you directly to the YouTube page. It's not like a secondary page or anything. It just bring you right to the YouTube page. You can get through all of that stuff. You don't have to sift through a bunch of dog stuff. Look, hey, it's National Dog Day, as I said. So, I'm not out here trying to drag dogs. It's not my fault. Although, if I were to rate the dogs, breeds of dogs, I got to be honest with you, regardless of what my nickname is, I would not put the pug dog anywhere in the top 50 of breeds. Not a fan of the pug dog. I once had the misfortune of spending a few weeks with a puggle. You know what a puggle is? Puggle is a pug dog and a beagle. That's the worst dog I ever owned. That was the worst dog. I'm a big dog guy anyway, so, we are going to get into a bunch of stuff. Let's see. What are we going to talk about here? Here are the things that I know that are trending. The Office is trending. Who doesn't love The Office? Great television show. One particular Office episode is being canceled. You're never going to see it again. At least not if Comedy Central has its way. We're also going to talk about Rachel Nichols. This is another person. Rachel Nichols. She's from ESPN. Nothing wrong. I've never felt there was any problem with Rachel Nichols. Apparently, she is a terrible person because ESPN is, they're trying to cancel her or whatever you want to say. But Rachel Nichols got herself into a little bit of trouble. We'll discuss if she's really in trouble or if we're all just insane. Also, Monica Lewinsky. We're going to talk about her. Monica Lewinsky, yeah, she's back in the news. What is it, 1998 again? What's going on there? Monica Lewinsky has been completely out of the spotlight for 20 years, right? I mean, do we even know? I had to look up what she looked like now. And she looks like Monica Lewinsky. She looks like, So we'll talk about that and anything else that happens to pop up. Cole Beasley is right now trending #1 on Twitter. We might discuss that a little bit, although I really don't want to get into that conversation. Again, what we're attempting to do here is do something that is non-divisive, something that, there are plenty of things that we can all argue about that don't have anything to do with how you voted in the last election. And that's the attempt with this show here. Also, it should be noted, we have the ability, and I have the want and desire to be able to go live at any point during the day. So should anything begin to develop, any kind of big story that I see and I start to think, I think this is going to be big. Let's get on it. I'll jump on. You'll get the alerts if you're signed up at any of those sites that I showed you before. You'll be notified when I'm going live, and you can just, hey, this is at least something that Pugs thinks might be important. So again, follow at any of those spots that you see there at the bottom of the page, and you'll be kept up to speed on everything that's going on. Now, I know that just 15 seconds ago, I said that I had no desire to be divisive here on today's show. But, what do we got? I almost went live this morning. I really did. I almost went live this morning. Although I told you about the live aspects of this, the breaking news where I'm just going to jump in and you're going to see me here and we're going to cover things as they unfold. I really want that to be more based in things that happen, at least in North America. America, for the most part, Canada secondary. But for the most part, this is for domestic breaking news. But I haven't been able to do that. I've been able to, like I'm some ghoul just sitting here waiting for something terrible to happen so I can test out my new theory about how we can, jump in during breaking news. No, it's honestly maybe yes, no, but maybe yes. I mean, I'm conflicted about how I feel about this, but I am a news junkie, and whatever. When things start to happen, I like to be on top of it. So if you join me, we can try and be on top of it together. And as things unfold, we'll just sort of break them apart together, try and make sense of it without any sort of political this or political that or, whatever you want to do. But as I said, I almost went live this morning as all of my little breaking news alarms started to go off. I was woken up too because I'm having a real problem with sleep scheduling. It doesn't sound like it would be that difficult to come on at noon and do a couple of hours and then have an 8-hour break and then come back on at 10 and do another couple of hours. And I don't think that ultimately it is that difficult. It's just, this being the first week of this new venture that we're putting together here, I'm adjusting. So I might even sound a little different because my sleep patterns are just completely out of whack. And this morning I'm sleeping and I'm laying in bed and all of a sudden, my phone starts all of these alerts. And when I get like 15 of them in a row, I know that something huge is happening. So I rolled out and I checked my phone and I looked at it and I'm like, Afghanistan. So in a half awake, half asleep sort of haze, I made the decision that I wasn't going to break in for the Afghanistan story because another tenet of this is if the national network or international, I suppose, network news people are already on it, then, what do you need me for? I mean, I'm going to be over here tripping over my dick. Really? I mean, you can watch Anderson Cooper do that. You can watch stuff unfold right in front of Anderson Cooper. So again, that's why I sort of laid back and I just sat and all morning I've been watching the cluster F that is Afghanistan. Now, try and resist the instinct to claim that it's a cluster F now. It's been a cluster F for, well, at least to my knowledge, 40 years, 45 years. I mean, ever since the Russians rolled in there, Afghanistan has been absolutely a trash heap of all different kinds of violence, sex, and SECTS, not SEX. My voice and my accent, I apologize. So here's the latest. Let me see here. Let me pull this up. There have been explosions at the airport in Afghanistan. Here we go. Let's try this. I'll give you the base of what happened. Maybe with a little bit of a backstory, just for your own edification. So last night, we all know what's happening in Afghanistan. And let's resist putting the blame on either of the last two guys, okay? Regardless of how you really feel, you can't, not one of the current and former presidents deserve the scorn for the cluster F that is going on right now at the Kabul airport. So we've been in this war with them, and it's time to end the war. It's time to admit that what does a game-winning score in this war actually mean? We don't know. And because we're so divided, nobody in this country, none of our leaders can agree on what would constitute a victory. And honestly, this is a problem from the beginning. We shouldn't look at these incidents. I mean, look, Afghanistan is a war. I don't know how else to. It's a war. This is an incident. What's happening now? But this war has been happening for us for 20 years now. Longest war in American history. 20 years. We've been bogged down in this godforsaken part of the world. The Afghani people. What's wrong? Oh, I forgot the light again. Ed is always helping me out with the light. See, when I start here early, think the light looks good. No, right now everybody can see my disgusting facial scar. This is actually, hey, Ed,
remember the night we got that.
the scar?
In that bar
No. That's this scar. That's a different scar.
Okay.
Yeah, no. The big scar, which you can see here, which goes all the way up, and then other way, and then around. That's when I took the top of my head off in a car accident.
Oh, in high school.
Yeah, in high school. Yeah, that was not a good time.
With Tim.
No, it wasn't Tim. It was Mike. Mike, who left me for dead. I have that's a story for another time, but and he didn't leave me for dead. He's one of my closest friends, and I love him dearly. And we were kids, and we were both idiots, and but there was a situation that unfolded where I have continually for 40 years, for 35 years, every time I see him, you left me for dead. Anytime he says anything that I disagree with, so, but he really didn't. He didn't. He actually went for help. Okay, so back to the Afghanistan. Now that I'm fully illuminated and all of my teenage transgressions can be seen by anyone who wants to Google it. And now I'm actually pretty okay with it. Maybe it's me who only sees it because I'm most self-conscious. But it used to be a giant red line that went all the way up my forehead. It looks like my head was split equally in half. And for years, man, people would come up to me and say, hey, I think you got marker on your head. And I'd be like, no, it's not marker. But thankfully, for any of you youngsters out there or young people or even people with a recently unsightly scar on their person, it will fade. It will fade. One of the good things about age, it will fade. Okay, so back to the Afghanistan story. As I said, I don't think you can blame the right or the left for what's happening in America. I mean, this has been our policy of going in and not really having a great plan because for some reason, all of our plans in this regard have always been just butchered by political partisanship. And, well, if I do this, I won't get these votes, so there's a lot of bad stuff that went down. And we've got 4 presidents that we can blame for this. 4. There's a president who started it. There's a president who kept it going. There's a president who maybe shouldn't have made the announcement to pull out the way he did. And then there's the president who followed that and actually pulled out. So here's what happened. All right. So this morning, let's see. An explosion went off Thursday outside the Kabul airport where thousands of people have gathered to try and flee the country on Western airlifts since the Taliban seized power earlier this month. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said that there was no immediate word on casualties in the blast Thursday, but there are. Now, I believe the latest is, hold on, let me pull this up real quick and I'll see. 13 casualties, I believe, is what they're saying. U.S. personnel have been wounded in the airport attack. 2 explosions. One occurred at a hotel right there outside of the airport complex. A hotel that, excuse me, just until yesterday had been occupied by British forces. They pulled out, and a bomb went off there, and then another bomb went off at one of the gates at the airport. Now, why is the airport the center of attention here? Well, it's because everybody's trying to get out. All of the Afghan people who were promised that they would be protected by the United States government, should this all go to shit the way it has, all of these people have been trying to make their way to the airport so that they can be airlifted out. And we've got planes there. There's military, United States. Actually, it's an international force there, but I believe it's being led by the United States military forces. And the problem is that people who are living in the Afghan greater metropolitan or the Kabul greater metropolitan area, they have to listen to this cluster F. They have to go through 3 checkpoints before they can get into the airport. The first checkpoint is the Taliban. Taliban forces who have recently resumed control of the country as soon as the United States government and the United States, you call it a puppet government. I mean, I guess that's fair to say. We instilled a government there in the hopes that we could force feed American democracy to these people. And honestly, anyone around the world looking at the current state of American democracy, I mean, why the hell would they want that? maybe you go back to the drawing board, you take a few of the elements that worked, and you just dream up something new, some new way of doing things, because we certainly haven't been able to make ours work. Not in the last couple of years anyway. So what happens is the 3 checkpoints. The first one is the Taliban. Okay, so now remember, this Taliban government that has re-seized control of Afghanistan, or parts of Afghanistan. They don't have it all, because that's another thing. There's problems within the people who are now taking over. So we negotiated with the Taliban. If you remember, a couple of years ago, there was a big story because the former president wanted to hold these Taliban negotiations at Camp David on September 11th. And, you know, that seemed a bit tone deaf to the American population, but whatever. So unlike most of the other administrations, this is the previous administration negotiated with the Taliban for we're getting the hell out. Okay, this is what we want to do. We want to get the hell out. Please promise to play nice, or whatever it was. But the thing is that we put our trust in these guys, and so in the meantime, we set the date on when we were going to pull out. And in the meantime, we had a new president come in, and the new president kept to that date, kept to the promises of the other president. And I wonder if this is political. I mean, it's got to be. Everything that goes into this is now political. Nothing is in the best interest of the United States, the people, or the people of Afghanistan. It's always in the best interest of voters. It's always in the best interest of, let's see, if I do this, will I lose these people? If I do this, will I gain these people? And, we've been in a war for 20 years, and everybody's kind of sick and tired of this war, right? Or are we? I mean, maybe if we had let's be honest, folks, we checked out on Afghanistan a long time ago. I mean, unless you've been a soldier there yourself, unless you spilled blood there, unless you saw your friends take one there, almost everybody else forgot that we were still a year or two ago, before Afghanistan became another big topic of discussion. If you asked people how the Afghan war went, they'd say, oh, yeah, it was great. It fell when we pulled down the Saddam statue. No, that was Iraq. That was different. That was Baghdad. We went into this war in response to the 9/11 attacks. We had determined that the bases that were used to train the attackers that took out the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and the plane over Pennsylvania, we determined that those people had been given refuge and the ability to train in the countrysides of Afghanistan. The government of Afghanistan at that point, the Taliban, they were there before. The Taliban government, we decided they were running a terrorist state. So we also went into Iraq. That was a whole different story. But Afghanistan was really the target for our post 9/11 revenge. And we went in and we kicked their ass. They ran for the hills. As soon as they saw us coming, it was like one of them incoming cavalry scenes from an old Western. We came over the hills and they ran, and we took over, and we decided, okay, we've freed you. Now be like us. It's a cliche at this point, but just ask the Russians how that went. The Russians tried for years. And, those who don't know history are deemed to repeat it. And we went into Afghanistan and we thought we could do better. And we didn't. And we didn't because some say we didn't have the guts. Some say we didn't have the ability. Look, the fact of the matter is that if we wanted to carpet bomb and, just turn Afghanistan into a bigger pile of sand and rocks than it already is, we could have done that, but we don't, because on some level, I guess for the past 20 years, we've remained at least some semblance of our humanity. And we understood that, when you do that kind of stuff, you see a lot of ugly pictures. You see a lot of video images of kids with their heads blown off. And, that's really not something I think anyone in the world had the stomach for. So we now live in a world where wars do not seem to have conclusive ends, especially if you try and stay and colonize the people, if you will, nation build, as they say. So that's what we've been doing in Afghanistan. So as I said, We had a president who made a deal to get out. Maybe that deal was made hastily. Maybe it wasn't all that well planned out. And maybe it was done because an election was coming up and, it looks good on the campaign trail to be able to say you ended the war, right? So who knows what it was. But when a new administration comes in and looks at it, all right, I'm going to say names, and I don't want to say names, but if you're going to blame Trump for this, which a lot of people are, you got to blame Biden as well. Because if, in fact, what Trump did was so terrible, then why in the hell did the Biden administration not go, yeah, we're not going to do that? And the line has been, well, a deal's a deal. American integrity is of the utmost importance to us in the global society. And that turns out to be complete bullshit, because in following the plan, in keeping America's deal with the Taliban, no less, what we did is we screwed over everybody that we helped there. Everybody that helped us. Not who we helped there. Everybody who helped us. All the Afghan citizens who years ago we went and said, hey, look, you got to help us take down this crazy government that you guys got. I know that you're a modern thinker, Afghani. I know that you're educated. I know that you see that this Taliban is some archaic cave-dwelling society that we do not want to bring this. Afghanistan was not as backwards as people thought. I mean, women were educated, they had jobs, and then all of a sudden everything changed. And we made promises to these people that helped us get Afghanistan back at least into the 20th century. And we're so worried about breaking our deal to the Taliban, but we don't seem to care at all about breaking our deal to the people we left behind. Because as soon as the Taliban comes back into power, who do you think their first victims are going to be? Who do you think they're going to go house to house, knocking on doors, looking for, dragging out in the middle of the night and executing in the street like dogs? It's going to be the people who helped us. So this airlift is all about getting all of the people who helped us in Afghanistan out of here. In other words, keeping our word and our integrity within the global society. There was probably a better way to do it. I don't know it. I'm not here to tell you what it is. I wouldn't even have a guess on how to do it. Yes, this guy who does a stream from Dallas-Fort Worth in the middle of the day has the idea to cure the Afghan situation. Russians couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. But I've got no, I don't. Nobody has an idea. But the other option is what? We stay there another 20 years? So it's all very confusing. And so the first checkpoint is the Taliban. The second checkpoint was the old Afghani forces. So you got to go. Remember, you helped America. You got your visa to get the hell out of there. But before you can get to the plane that's going to get you the hell out of there, you got to talk to three people with three completely different ideologies and three completely different motives. Remember, you got the Taliban checkpoints first. That's the new power and the power that we kicked out. So they're not going to be too happy. But they are keeping, in theory, their side of the deal made with the previous administration was that they would allow the people who who helped America back in the early days. They would, okay, fine, we'll allow you guys to get out. So that's the first checkpoint. But the second checkpoint, or the first, okay, yeah. So that's the first. So there shouldn't be a problem there. The second checkpoint is the old Afghan forces, the people that we put into government. There's still some of them there, and maybe that's a little bit less of a trouble to get through. And then the third one is the international forces checkpoint. But the problem that we're seeing is with the first checkpoint. The people who are now in charge are kind of going back on their deal a little bit, because there was a whole nother radical faction of armies. Remember ISIS? Remember we destroyed ISIS? Well, we did to a degree, but now they've re-rallied with the new current events happening there. And now we've got ISIS-K, like Special K. Like, this is a better for you, ISIS. And that's quite legitimately what they say. They say, no, we're different. We're changed. We're okay now. We're still going to be, these horrible, awful ghouls, but we're not going to be as horrible and as awful as we used to be. So the problem is we can't get the people out. And the people that are there are gathering, and there's all of these. It's terrible. So there were the other faction of the radical Afghani people, this new ISIS-K, they're now at war with the Taliban government, who is now taking charge. So they're fighting a civil war amongst themselves. And why? Why are they fighting a civil war? Because they dealt with America. That's the whole problem here. The Taliban that we dealt with said, yeah, we can control everybody. Don't worry, this will work out fine. And it didn't. And I think that, I'm hearing a lot of different people talk about this situation, and they all seem to be saying the same thing. How could you ever trust the Taliban to hold up their end of the bargain? So that's what we have here. We have essentially the more radical wing of the Taliban that reformed in the ashes of ISIS, which is now being called ISIS-K. They are really angry at the Taliban, who is moving in and scaring the hell out of all the women and all the, that. So it's just so incredibly crazy. And here we are, the Americans, I would say stuck in the middle, but, we're a pretty big part of this whole thing being started in the first place. We're just trying to get our people out. We're trying to keep that promise, but the promise to let them get out is not being kept. And now we've got explosions going on. A number of U.S. service members have been killed in this Kabul attack. Now I'm seeing breaking right now on the news. So the next move is, who knows? Again, we can't just drop a nuke on Afghanistan. It's not something that we can do. I know that, it's easy to just sit back and go, flatten that place, turn it to glass. But you're not gonna just kill the people you want to kill. You're gonna kill a lot of innocent people. A lot of, oh my goodness. And, there have been institutional changes done in Afghanistan over the past 20 years. So we're talking about multiple generations of people who have grown up in a country that was more Western in its, to a degree. Certainly not exactly like Paris in the 20s there, but, it was Afghanistan in 2005, 2015, 2019 was very different in the way you could walk down the street than maybe it had been under the Taliban in the previous years. So these people grew up knowing one way of life. And then all of a sudden, here we go. America decides we've had enough. We're pulling out of this war. And we've left all these people. This isn't about our pride as a country. This isn't about our ego. This is about a bunch of innocent people. And if you look at the people who live in that country and they're all dogs. Come on, man. Come on. They're not. They are not. I have friends friends, as I overstated, but I have a friend who was born in Afghanistan. He was born, they came here when he was 5 years old. He has family there. He's one of the coolest guys I know. All of the people in Afghanistan are not our enemy. And that's sort of the problem that we're dealing with. It's like, how do you tell? How do you tell who's the enemy and who's not? Yes. Okay. So 3 officials tell CNN that at least one blast appears to have been a suicide bomber. There are a number of U.S. service members killed. The last number that I saw total, and this does not include, or this is not necessarily only service members, was 16, but that number is probably gonna climb. I can't, CNN has the graphics up, and every time they show something, they warn us that it's, this is a warning, graphic images coming your way. So now for the next couple of hours, maybe couple of days, we're going to see nothing but little kids with bloody heads. And, if anything drives home the fact that these are people. Well, but those kids are suicide, but those kids don't know what they're doing. Those come on, man. These are kids that, have been raised by radicalized or however you want to do it. Hell, you think that being radicalized is radicalized, they're just born that way. Half of America is radicalized right now. Half of America has been radicalized through propaganda. Not state funded, corporate fueled, but still. We know that a lot of our family members aren't thinking straight, right? What happened to them? How did that happen? Well, they've been radicalized. And that's the same thing that happens to otherwise good people who are just filled with garbage. So I don't have a whole lot to say about this. Oh, wait a second. Jeff Glenn there in the chat room. By the way, once again, you can join us in the chat room. You get all of these sort of things are available to you here. Jeff Glenn says, breaking news. I pulled up YouTube on my Fire TV and searched Moran Live. No pugs, and it was right there. Okay, I got distracted. That's not exactly what we're talking about. Jeff, I thought you had real breaking news. Oh, and by the way, folks, that's how I want to use this chat because I can't, I can't be doing the stuff that I would normally doing if I wasn't trying to talk to a bunch of people. So if anything happens while I'm here talking about whatever it is that we're going to get into, because again, this couple of hours here in the middle of the day depends entirely on what's trending. If anything big breaks, throw it at me. Ed, my guy, I know that he's another news junkie. Anything big breaks, he should feel free to text it to me, and we'll go from there, okay? So let's get into what we're going to talk about. Let's see here. Let me pull this up. Let me minimize this. Let's see what's trending, shall we? Okay, here we go. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Well, of course, across all platforms, Afghanistan, we've already covered that. Let's see here. We've got Cristiano Ronaldo. That's a soccer story. He's trending. He's trending across most platforms. Apparently, Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be traded to Man City, which is that team that I talked about the other day. I'm not someone who always knows a lot about soccer. I wasn't a soccer fan growing up. But I've recently become converted to an appreciator of football, Premier League football. So Manchester City, Man City, and Arsenal are the two teams that I like to follow. So it looks like Cristiano Ronaldo is possibly going to be transferred. You don't say traded. You say transferred to Man City. I don't know what that means. Again, Cristiano Ronaldo, I know the name, and I knew the name before my recent conversion to an appreciator of Premier League and world soccer. But I don't know if I know that he was once great. I don't know that he is still great. I don't know. Is he old? Is he past? I seem to know the name for a number of years. But again, these soccer players start playing when they're 17 years old. So I don't know. He could be 23. He could be 38. I really don't know. And also because of that, other aspects of the trade are trending everywhere. Primera Liga is trending. More Afghanistan. Fortnite. Gamers. Typically don't do gamer stuff. But do I need to know about Fortnite? I don't know about... I don't understand what Fortnite is. It's apparently the most popular game that has ever been a game. And I have absolutely no idea what it's about. Let's see. My old governor, J.B. Pritzker. Oh, yeah. Illinois got a super billionaire governor, too. He's a big fat guy, big heavy guy, big jovial guy. I don't know what. Very divisive guy. Oh, but of course, what governor isn't a very divisive guy? All right, as we keep scrolling down. Okay, yeah, here's one that I wanted to get into. Are you a fan of The Office? I love The Office. How great of a show is The Office, right? Let's see, where's the story that correlates to this? There we go. Click on that. Apparently The Office is being canceled. Not the entire Office, just one particular episode. And it's probably the one that's, if you're an Office aficionado, if they were going to go after one episode of The Office, it would probably be the Diversity Day episode. I'll tell you, just read the story if you're familiar with The Office. Though Comedy Central has been airing reruns of NBC's beloved long-running sitcom The Office for years, there's one episode you may not be able to find on the network going forward. Diversity Day. The episode that's famous for its politically incorrect storyline, which features Michael Scott, Steve Carell, forcing the paper company staff to participate in a racial diversity seminar where he speaks in an exaggerated Indian accent and reprises Chris Rock's notorious stand-up routine about different kinds of black people. This is where they gather everybody in the conference room. And, this is Michael Scott's early attempt, long before we had a word for woke. This was Michael Scott trying to be woke. And of course, he fumbled it, and it was very funny. It was very funny. Well, I'm all for diversity. I'm all for giving anybody who's qualified a chance, regardless of whether they, who they pray to or what their skin color is or who they're sleeping with. It's not a big deal to me. I like to think of myself as a pretty modern contemporary guy. And, that's just the way you have to believe if you want to go through life being a friendly, nice, joyous person as I'm trying to be. Although when I was an angry, bitter scum, I was still pretty open to diversity and all that. But this episode in particular, it might be the greatest episode of The Office ever made. It was an early episode, and I certainly remember I wasn't on The Office from the very beginning. I don't know why, but I caught it a couple of episodes late, and then I've gone back and binged it. But the diversity episode was a pretty early episode. And I remember watching it and just laughing. I mean, this is a white guy in a suit, Michael Scott, getting up in front of a very diverse group of employees and explaining to them how we have to be accepting. Now, it was already, a bit of the joke was that it was already a diverse group of people. And he took it upon himself as the white guy to explain to all of these people, what their stereotypes were. And he did it because Michael Scott always tries to be the entertainer. He did it with funny voices, and he did it. We talked about Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's playing the Japanese character in the over-the-top comical and humiliating and shameful way. I mean, it really is. But, this was Michael Scott behaving in that way. And because he does an Indian accent, the cliched Apu, because he uses the old Chris Rock line about, where he uses the N-word, and, there are different kinds of black people. He thought that was appropriate for diversity training. And it's very funny. And it is extremely funny. And apparently, to the eyes of the 2021 scandal raker, the guy that just the outrage culture, everybody's looking for something to be triggered by. Don't think for a moment that people aren't enjoying being triggered. They are, because in the moment you're given permission to be against something, and you're given permission to sort of bubble over with your most ridiculous hot takes. And I don't want to go off on a rant here, but people love to be outraged, and they were looking for things. That's the whole problem with cancel culture, and it's the whole problem with being woke. I say I'm not woke because I never went to sleep. I just, what do you mean woke? Like suddenly I realize that slavery was wrong. Suddenly I realized that women can be doctors. I mean, come on. That's something that, I was born in 1969. I don't feel like I was raised by a single mom. As far as women and equality goes, I was raised by a single mom who could do everything a dad could do and more. So it wasn't like I was ever raised in a world where I had some a-hole dad going, hey, never fly in an airplane with a female pilot. It's because of their menstrual cycle. They get a little wiggy a couple of times. I mean, really, people actually talked like that. Yet no attention was ever paid to men getting boners because the skirt was too short on a stewardess, right? I mean, that was never a problem. It was never a problem with men. Or men were never. Well, I guess we're being called out now in the Me Too era, so that's probably good. Turnabout is fair play. But here's what these people attempting to cancel the Diversity Day episode of The Office are completely missing. And maybe they're not. Maybe just their desire to be outraged is so strong within them that they no longer care about integrity. They no longer care about being stupid. They just want to be heard. They're angry about other things. And you know what? This is something that if I get angry about, I might be listened to. No, nobody's listening. Except when 100 million other people, actually, no. Let's just say 10,000 other like-minded morons on Twitter and Facebook decide to join you and create this chorus of, can you believe this episode is allowed to exist? Then you get a problem. And then we have the gutless corporations that won't stand up and won't say, yeah, okay. Credit where credit is due, whether this is good or bad. But one of the things that the previous administration completely understood is that they could do absolutely anything they wanted. They could say anything they wanted. And people would be mad, boy. Woo! It'd be trending number one. Everybody's screaming about this. Everybody's screaming about that. You get them all upset. But what they understood that nobody else seems to understand, corporate America doesn't understand, certainly the Democrats don't understand it, it's that if you can weather 24 hours of being called a chauvinist or a racist or a bigot or whatever it is, if you can just weather the first 24 hours, it goes away. It'll go away and they'll move on to being upset about something else. Credit where credit is due. The last administration knew that. The last administration knew that they didn't have to placate a bunch of stupid people who were yelling about dumb shit. Corporate America doesn't do it either. Corporate America is like the Democrats in that regard. They crumble. They crumble immediately. Well, you find out, in this case, it's like Comedy Central. Comedy Central. I may never watch Comedy Central again. Are you kidding me? I haven't watched Comedy Central in years, if I'm being honest. I don't watch TV that way. Maybe I've seen clips. I've seen, I suppose the only thing that maybe I've seen is the Daily Show for an episode or two, but those were probably just clips now that I think about it. Everything that the Daily Show does that is interesting to me gets shared on Twitter or Facebook, in a nice little video. So I watch that. So, maybe Comedy Central is just seeing their audience dwindle and seeing their means of distribution for their content changing, and they're scared. They want to keep the water from seeping in of their traditional television broadcast way of life, and they don't want any trouble with an already frightened, nervous advertiser base, right? So you crumble. Comedy Central is supposed to be about comedy. Comedy Central used to have that show Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, which was anything but politically correct. That show was able to say Comedy Central is supposed to be smart and understand that humor can be used as a tool to teach people who think one thing to really see it in another way. Humor is not always just disposable. Humor, especially in the form of satire, is important. Has been important. Going all the way back, here we go, another Aristophanes line. The classic Greek era playwright, he understood satire. Shakespeare understood satire, and The Office understood satire. We're not supposed to see what Michael Scott is doing in the diversity training episode, Diversity Day episode of The Office. We're not supposed to watch Michael Scott and be offended. We're supposed to watch Michael Scott laugh and go, my God, that way of thinking, this way of behaving is so stupid. Michael Scott is not a hero. Michael Scott, his entire position in that show is to show you how foolish we are. He is a foolish man. You're supposed to watch Michael Scott in the Diversity Day episode and go, that's idiot. This guy is an idiot. That's comedy. That's satire. And they just don't get it. They just, Comedy Central, they either get, of course they get it. You know what? Of course they get it. But what they're doing is they're being cowards. And they're going to get rid of this tremendously important episode in the canon of The Office simply because Michael Scott does a Chris Rock bit. Simply because Michael Scott uses an Indian accent. It's not meant to be offensive. It was meant to be funny, informative, maybe make you realize that when you do these kinds of racial stereotypes, especially as a white man in a suit in an office, that you probably look foolish. That's the intent. And now we're pulling that out. We're pulling that out because apparently in today's world, people don't get satire. They don't understand it. Or as I say, they do understand it. They just see an opportunity to be, outraged. And we all love to be outraged. Okay, so we'll back to it. The episode is famous for its politically incorrect storyline, which features boss Michael Scott forcing the paper company staff to participate in a racial diversity seminar where he speaks in exaggerated Indian accent and reprises Chris Rock's notorious stand-up routine. According to Barstool Sports, I hate that they broke this or that they're being credited for breaking this because look, don't get me wrong. I love what Barstool has done. I love how they've grown from just what was basically a Boston-based Red Sox Patriots fanzine into what it is now. That is truly a remarkable achievement. But my God, Barstool is so low as common denominator. But we digress. According to Barstool Sports, the cable channel has quietly omitted the episode from the rotation. Not so quiet anymore. Barstool sports writer and host of the podcast Spittin' Chicklets, Rear Admiral. That's his name. He goes by Rear Admiral. Because it's probably funny because, like butt stuff. Barstool sports writer and host of the podcast Spittin' Chicklets, Rear Admiral, noticed the second episode of season 1 was missing. Oh, yeah, okay, so that plays into it. Yeah, I didn't really jump into The Office until probably episode 3 or 4 when everybody was telling me I needed to see it. But then I certainly have gone back and binged the whole series a couple of times. It's one of the greatest, one of the best written, best acted series of all time. So this was the very second episode of The Office. Boy, they came out of the blocks just looking to stake their claim. Barstool sports writer, he noticed that the second episode of the season was missing from a recent marathon of the show. He asked Comedy Central about its absence and said he received no reply, not even the standard corporate boilerplate reply about potentially offending people. Let's see. Here's what we got on this. These are quotes now. It's really just treating folks like children, telling them that they're not equipped to handle Michael Scott imitating Chris Rock, as if people voluntarily turning into a TV comedy was going to suddenly send them out into the streets being racist. All they had to do is leave the episode up and quietly throw in one of those disclaimers that airs before even episodes of Beverly Hills or Beverly Hills Cop 2. I watched the entirety of at the end. Okay, so we don't need this. So this is trending and everybody's getting outraged about it. Ricky Gervais, who created The Office and starred in the original British version of the series, joked in July that the show would be immediately banned if it were airing for the first time today. I mean, now it would be canceled, said Gervais. I'm looking forward to when they pick out one thing and try to cancel it. Someone said they might try and cancel it one day, and I say, good, let them cancel it. I've been paid. Yeah, he's a polarizing figure to some extent, Ricky Gervais, but I like him. I like that attitude. He's like, fine, you want to be a bitch, but I've already been paid. I put this out into the universe. I created it from nothing. It was in my head. I put it on paper, and now you people have it, and so many of you enjoyed it. But now if you want to take it away forever, whatever. I don't care. I got paid. That's a good attitude. I like that. It's better than him being outraged. We can all learn from Ricky Gervais. In 2018, Steve Carell, too, said that networks would likely shy away from the series now. Quoting Steve Carell, it might be impossible to do that show today and have people accept it the way it was accepted 10 years ago. The climate's different, he told Esquire. I mean, the whole idea of that character, Michael Scott, so much of it was predicated on inappropriate behavior. And that's the whole point. That's what satire is. Michael Scott was not a hero. Michael Scott was the fool. Michael Scott was who we were supposed to all be laughing at. But, here we go. Let's see. The Daily Wire reached out to Comedy Central to confirm this claim, but they also did not receive a response. Okay, so again, there's a whole bunch of people getting outraged. Okay, now the people who are outraged about it being canceled, oh boy, this is multiple levels of outrage happening here. So full disclosure, I'm a bit outraged that Comedy Central would have done this. Comedy Central have done this because certain people were outraged about we have just like two outrage trains that just crashed into each other. And now I'm a little outraged too, because quite frankly, if we're being fair about this, before we're allowed to get outraged, Comedy Central has not said anything about this. Comedy Central has not responded to either the first inquiry by the Barstool reporter nor the second one from the Daily Wire. And remember, all of this is predicated on the fact that some dude from Barstool, who was probably half drunk and smoking a joint, somehow noticed that the second episode wasn't there. When he inquired with Comedy Central didn't respond. So then he went on his platform and said, they canceled it. Everybody gets outraged. And then the Daily Wire picks it up today, and now it's trending all over the place. And now the Daily Wire is admitting that, yeah, we also asked Comedy Central, and they didn't have any response yet. And, but just go ahead. Be prematurely outraged, because I know that that's what we all like to do. So honestly, this could have been a mistake. This is, again, remember, this is all based on what some guy who goes by the name Rear Admiral noticed while sitting on the couch watching a Barstool or an Office marathon on Comedy Central. So, and by the way, what is this guy? What's he doing watching a marathon on Comedy Central? If you want to watch The Office, aren't all the episodes on Peacock? Can't you just like binge them all on Peacock? Isn't that where they went? They used to be on Netflix, I want to say. And then there was like a warning for like, this is how popular, this is how much people love The Office. There was a warning for like 6 months on Netflix that The Office was going away. And I heeded that warning. That's when I decided I was going to binge the entire series again. I'm glad I did. It's a wonderful series. But now they've all been reclaimed by NBC's streaming platform, Peacock. So they're all over there. So once again, a guy that still watches old-timey cable TV sitting on his couch, who is already based with what I would call a disreputable outfit in Barstool, he noticed something, and now the whole world is going crazy. We have to sit and we have to wait for Comedy Central and see what they did. I mean, I imagine he's right. I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but I imagine he's right. We shall see. But again, we're all getting out. The whole world is spinning around simply because a stoner who works for a disreputable outfit noticed that it was missing. All right, so what else is trending here? Rachel Nichols. Do we know Rachel Nichols? We know Rachel Nichols. She's a cute little sideline reporter. Not a sideline reporter. She's I don't want to marginalize her efforts there at ESPN. She's been there for a long time. She's an ESPN reporter. Occasional anchor. Here again, before I get the go-ahead that I can actually share screens on the screen, we'll do this. There's Rachel Nichols. Look at her. There she is. Look at her. She's she's good. Nobody who loves sports has ever had a problem with Rachel. I don't think so. I mean, unless you're one of those guys who doesn't like women doing sports. Dude, I know girls that are way more about sports than I do. I know there is a girl on sports radio in Chicago who's actually a Dallas-Fort Worth-based girl who came from The Ticket, of all places. Leela Rahimi. She knows more about sports than anybody I know. I mean, anybody I know. This girl is just an incredible sports talker. So, this whole idea that, well, women shouldn't be, and that's, oh my God, do anybody really still, I guess only people my age and a little bit older still feel that way. So what's happening with Rachel Nichols? She's being canceled too. Now let's figure out if this is a warranted cancellation. Some of these cancellations are warranted, right? I mean, sometimes stuff that a well-known bad guy has done in the past comes back and takes him down, and in those instances, I'm very pleased to see that happen. Side note: Henry Kissinger was trending late last night. Why hasn't that dude been canceled? He's 98 years old. You want to drudge up some stuff on some evil ghoul, that would be the guy to look to first. 98 years old, he's being consulted on the Afghan situation. The guy who was almost solely responsible for the Saigon debacle and all of the Vietnam BS, he's being consulted about the Afghan thing. So don't worry. We're going to only the best people, as we like to say in this country. So back to Rachel Nichols and why she's trending. Once a prominent on-air personality with ESPN and its coverage of the NBA, it appears that Rachel Nichols' contract with the Disney-owned sports brand will end quietly. Oh, by the way, fun fact about Rachel Nichols. This is another reason why I liked her. the Nichols in her name is the Mike Nichols name. Oh my God. Talk about one of the great satirical comedy writers of all time. Nichols and May, Elaine May and Mike Nichols. Rachel Nichols is married to Mike Nichols' son. So, pretty cool. But The Graduate, right? Wasn't that Mike Nichols? I think it was. Catch-22 maybe too. I don't know. Anyway, Rachel Nichols is been sort of benched by ESPN, to use a sports term, if I want. Now, why has she been benched? Well, first reported by John Orland of Sports Business, ESPN has removed Nichols from all NBA programming and will cancel her weekday afternoon show, The Jump. Nichols has 1 year remaining in her contract with ESPN, but according to Orland, there are no current plans to use her on the air at this time. Now, this news comes after more than 2 months ago, ESPN pulled Nichols from their NBA Finals coverage. Now, you remember this. This was a story. This was back when a couple months ago, as I just said. NBA Finals were going on, and Rachel Nichols, who was she's an ever-present face on ESPN for these big events. She's good. That's why. She got herself pulled because of things that she apparently said. It was, Rachel Nichols is a racist. Rachel Nichols is a racist. Rachel Nichols is a racist. That's all we heard back then. Because apparently she had a problem with another woman, a woman of color, being given NBA assignments that she felt were rightfully hers. So she went to someone, well, now we know, she went to someone in ESPN's upper echelon, the suite of offices, and she complained about it, and that leaked out, and her complaining that a black woman was given additional work on the NBA coverage, that she hated that, she was upset by that. And we all went nuts. We all went after Rachel Nichols. So now here we are. Apparently, it's leaked. The conversation that she had that got her in so much trouble, it is leaked. And now ESPN has decided that Rachel Nichols should be benched. What is she being benched for? All right, let's see if we can't get into this. Actually, I'll give you more of the backstory first, and then I'll tell you exactly what she said. The news comes more than a month after ESPN pulled Nichols from their NBA Finals coverage. She was set to report from the sideline during the championship series when an audio leak of Nichols was released, where she implied her colleague Maria Taylor was given the NBA Finals job of hosting because she was black. Rachel Nichols is a racist. I heard somebody say that she said that. Okay, but now there's audio of it. So now we're going to have a clearer picture of what it is that she said. Set to report from the sideline, the leaked audio of Nichols was released where she implied her colleague Maria Taylor was. And Maria Taylor also, she's fantastic as well. ESPN doesn't hire bums. ESPN gets the best of the best until they realize they're being severely underpaid, and then they go into some local market and become a 10 p.m. sports anchor and make 3 times what they were making at ESPN. The news comes more than 2 months after she was pulled from the championship series. She was angry about Maria Taylor being given assignments that should have been hers. ESPN quickly responded to the leak audio by pulling Nichols from their finals coverage, but she remained as host. The controversial recording was more than a year old when it was released. So this is like not even, she was pulled from this year's finals based on a recording that suddenly came out from a conversation that she had that she believed was in private over a year ago. All right, so here's what she said. I'll read it to you. This is what the racist Rachel Nichols said, because we're really going to have to pull this apart and break it down. Quoting now. Actually, let me stave off the cotton mouth for a second. Rachel Nichols. I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football. She covers basketball. Nichols privately told Mendelson, that's the name of the person who apparently leaked this, the executive at ESPN. She goes on to say, if you need to give her more things to do because you are feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I myself know personally from the female side of it, like, go for it. Just find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it from me and by taking away my things. Okay, so that's the quote. That's what she said. Let me reread this again. Here's what Rachel Nichols said that has got her benched now for the last year of her contract with ESPN. I wish Maria Taylor well, all the success in the world. She covers football. She covers basketball. But if you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I myself know personally from the female side of it, like, go for it. Just find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it from me and by taking away my things. So Rachel Nichols has a slate of assignments that she does at ESPN, and she goes, I guess just like all of us, you go to the kitchen, the office kitchen, and you look at the little schedule there, and you say, oh, what am I doing? And she noticed that she had lost a couple of assignments, maybe assignments that she had been doing. She hosts The Jump. I mean, she certainly has to have, I would think that she would have a place with ESPN's NBA coverage, since she seems to have been anointed by them as, one of their top NBA people. I mean, The Jump is an NBA show. I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football. She covers basketball. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. It's like saying, look, no malice against Maria. I like Maria. Maria is my friend. She does a lot of stuff and she's very good at it. And then she goes on to say, but if you need to give her more things to do, because let's be honest, you guys have been really crappy about diversity. And I know this because I'm a woman who has been working in this cesspit of male testosterone. Go ahead, go for it. Please do move forward with your diversity initiatives, but don't take away my things. I'm a woman, my God. I mean, that's basically what she's saying. She never said she got it because she's black. She was not that inartful. She's not that. I mean, she probably wouldn't even think that way. She articulated her point, I believe, in a fairly decent way. Again, I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers basketball. She covers football. And if you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I myself know all about your crappy long-term record of non-diversity. I'm being a female and all. Go for it. I want you to do that. We want ESPN to break out of the stone age of thinking the way that you did for the past 30 years of your existence. I am all for that. But why don't you take something away from, Mike Greenberg? I don't know. Why don't? So you get her point, right? I mean, she's like, my God, I've been walking around these halls for years saying, why is this place nothing but white guys? Why is this place nothing but white guys who graduated from Syracuse? That's all it is. That's all ESPN is. It's white guys and pro athletes. That's right. Pro athletes, and maybe ESPN for a long time thought, what do you mean we're not diverse? We got black football players on every Sunday night. So her problem isn't that they replaced her with a black woman the way everybody, or not everybody, dumb people went running with. The problem is that in their attempt to make it more diverse, they're actually taking, what do they say? One step forward, two steps back. I mean, no, you keep Rachel. Why not have just an all-female NBA coverage? You could have, I'm sure you're not going to have a female doing the game because that's a step too far, I'm sure. But I mean, what is the problem here? Why, if you wanted to get Maria Taylor more work, would you go, let's get the little mousy girl. We'll get rid of her. No, get rid of, I don't know. I don't even watch ESPN that much anymore. Again, I don't watch basic cable. But I know that there are a bunch of dudes walking around, a bunch of white dudes from Syracuse walking around who've been there for years who, maybe you could take a couple of their assignments away. But no, they decided to take it away from Rachel Nichols. And now, because it's been leaked, again, just like with Comedy Central, ESPN doesn't want to take the time to explain the actual facts of the situation. What they'd rather do is just bench Rachel Nichols because she's a racist, because people say that she's a racist, but that's not actually what she said. I don't care what she actually said. I care what people think she said. And that's the problem. We have fallen so far away from any desire to actually know the truth. And all we do now is we react to what feels good to us. Truth be damned. It doesn't matter what the facts are. You know what? I feel like dragging Rachel Nichols today. Let's drag Rachel Nichols. So I feel bad for her. I don't know her. I know her from TV, and it's not like I don't actually watch The Jump. If you're a sports fan, you know who Rachel Nichols is, and this is maybe this could probably get bad. I would imagine this could get bad because if Rachel Nichols wanted to really go nuclear, I bet you Rachel Nichols could tell some stories. I bet you a beautiful young woman who has been at that place for years and years has a whole bunch of stories that ESPN wouldn't want to get out there. So they're playing with fire here. She's been they owe her for a year. She's got a year left on a contract. Hey, pro tip, word of advice to you, Rachel Nichols: if they owe you a year's worth of pay, just take a year off. Whatever you do, don't negotiate to go and work somewhere else so that they let you out of that. Make them pay you the full load and then go find something else. Because from personal experience, that doesn't always work out in your best interest. All right, a little bit more here. When the audio was released of Nichols earlier this summer, Taylor was in the middle of a contract dispute with ESPN. She ultimately left the network immediately after the NBA Finals and joined NBC in time for their coverage of the Summer Olympics. Earlier this month, ESPN announced Holly Rowe would take over Taylor's position on her coverage of college football. But they have not yet named a replacement for NBA Countdown. One thing that remains clear, the job won't be going back to Rachel Nichols. I don't think what she said was terrible at all. I think that Rachel Nichols is a smart woman who has probably had to deal with a whole lot of BS working at ESPN all these years. She's all for the idea of giving women of color and people of color more work. She seems to be suggesting that it's been something that has bothered her for a very long time. And, who's the scumbag that released? Who is this Mendelsohn dude? Adam Mendelsohn. He's the guy that she was having what she thought was a private conversation with somebody that she works with, and this dude was recording it. What is the purpose? And released it. It's one thing to record it because maybe Adam Mendelsohn is a white man who in his past has been a little handsy with the ladies. Maybe he's done a couple inappropriate. Maybe he's just protected himself. Hey, anytime I meet with a lady alone, I'm going to make sure that everything is recorded. I mean, that's a really sad state of affairs, but okay, if that's it. But you don't release it. If nothing happened, if you're not involved, if nobody is saying you had a meeting with Rachel Nichols and you told her that she had nice tits, you can say, oh, I got the tape right here. I didn't say that. That would be the use of the recording, not to discredit this woman. This guy's a dick. This Adam Mendelsohn recorded a private conversation with her and then put it out there knowing full well that outrage culture would misconstrue what it is that she actually said. And now here we have it. Somebody who certainly does not seem to be a racist from that transcript is now being punished because of outrage culture. All right, let's see. What else do we have that's trending here? Oh, my goodness. It is all football stuff. It is all Premier. This Ronaldo deal is apparently breaking. Okay. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. Yeah, we'll do this. Okay, also trending in America today. Monica Lewinsky is back in the news. Monica Lewinsky. For you kids, because I know I got a lot of teens out there listening. Monica Lewinsky, of course, from she blew a president. She was an intern. Clinton, the Clinton scandal, the Clinton Lewinsky scandal. We all went through it, and we all remember it. 22, 23 years ago now at this point, something like that. Monica Lewinsky was an intern for the President of the United States. She had a bit of a crush on him, and he was a bit of a cad. And, you get those two things together, an old horny man and a young woman who is DTF, if you will, because, she's admitted it. And by the way, I am looking at a picture of the modern Monica Lewinsky. She's pretty. She is pretty. You want to talk about body shaming and, how awful we were back then. She was dragged for her looks like nothing. Modern Monica Lewinsky is a dime package, baby. Here, look, here you go. If you haven't seen her in a while, you just remember her as that scared, confused kid that we all agreed that we could destroy. Here she is. Wait, we'll go this way. Look at that. That's modern day Monica Lewinsky. Beautiful. That is a beautiful young lady right there. She is, she was a little, she was She had a little thickness to her back then, and I think that was the basis for all the cruelty that was leveled at her. But I always said, I was, back on the radio back then. I always said, yeah, she was cute. Yeah, I thought she was cute. I mean, a cute young girl. All right. So why is Monica Lewinsky trending here? Well, because you remember the People versus Oj Simpson. Remember that? That's Ryan. Can't think of his name. Ryan Murphy, the television creator. He does all these terrific anthology things, American Horror Story and all that. He did the Andrew Cunanan thing. Remember that? The Versace murder. It was like that was a part of this American crime story anthology series that he's got there. Well, the new one that is coming out is about Monica Lewinsky and about the whole Clinton impeachment thing. Monica Lewinsky said that she had to push for impeachment, American Crime Story, to include a scene that showed her flashing her thong at former President Bill Clinton. Now, that's one of the stories that went around back in the day, and apparently it's a scene that's going to be portrayed in the film. It was used to sort of paint the young Monica as a whore, as a non-serious party girl who honeypotted the president of the United States. Oh, stop it. 100% it's on him. And yet, so disgusting. I mean, look, I was raised by a Chicago Democrat sort of family, right? But my grandma and grandpa, who basically laid down the law with the family back in the time, made sure that we were all raised as Democrats. They wouldn't have been. I mean, they wouldn't have. They weren't these kinds. They were Richard Daley Democrats, which meant that we are what we are because we work for the guy, and if he doesn't get reelected, we lose our jobs. It was one of those kinds of things. But the Democrats back then, in the night, they just behaved horribly by today's standards of decency. They dragged this girl. This girl was, yes, she was a grown-up. Yes, she was but she was a kid. Let's be honest. From our perspective, we're all in our 30s and 40s and 50s, and some of us even, more advanced than that. She was a kid by any standard. She was a kid like any of us have. Kids make stupid mistakes. And you know what? She was a girl. First of all, Monica Lewinsky had to have been a girl who had a little bit of something, a little bit of a jump in her step, because not every kid gets to work at the White House. Not every kid gets to have that kind of close, everyday contact with the president of the United States. That's not something that they give as a throwaway to some noob, some idiot, some dumb kid, just because these are people who, earned it through their school programs, or, even in some cases when they are connected, they still have to have the other piece of that. They don't employ a bunch of idiots there. If you're a young kid working in the White House, your stock is probably pretty high. Your stock is probably something that people want to invest in. So Monica Lewinsky was there flirting with the president. The president was more than complicit in all of this. You're the president of the United States. I'll put it to you this way. I've had a lot of interns that have worked for me on various radio shows. I've been an intern. Kevin Matthews sexually assaulted me. I'm going to go on record right now and say it. Kevin Matthews in 1996 pinned me against the wall and tried to kiss me. And I've been quiet about it, but now it's time. Kevin Matthews sexually assaulted me back in 1996. And because of that, I have always been super... I've had a lot of interns. I've had attractive interns. I've had most of the women who were, look, they were all beautiful in their own way. But the Pugs and Kelly show had a number of interns who were very attractive women. I never even thought about that. And it wasn't because I was scared. It was because they worked for me, because they did stuff for me. And, because I guess you just have to have that line in your head. And by the way, I do know other guys in radios. I do know a lot of people in radio who have dumped into the intern pool. But I, as a stupid late 90s, early aughts version of a shock jock, even I knew that you didn't go near the interns. You could now the boy interns, you can brutalize the hell out of them. I did things to my interns, James Parker, Paco, Eric Mark. There's so many, I could go on forever. I did things to my interns that certainly in this day and age could be construed as sexual assault. It wasn't sexual on my part, but maybe a little dirty naughty. I mean, I have demanded that male interns pull their pants down and show me what they're working with. Okay, not really, but to that extent. I did have one intern who will not be named because this person has gone on to a much bigger and greater life. On demand, I used to make him take a garden hose and put it somewhere, and he could make a fountain. If a certain body cavity was filled with water, he could bend over and basically fart it out and create a water fountain. And, I found that endlessly entertaining. And there were more than enough times when we'd been in public and I demanded that you do the water fountain trick. He's an intern. I'm his boss. Of course he's going to do it. But those are guys. But as far as anything else, as far as, telling an intern, hey, I could get you more board op shifts if, maybe come over to my place tonight. We could talk about it, make a little dinner for that just never really even crossed my mind with the interns. I mean, you guys know Sybil Summers? I worked with Sybil Summers for 10 years. That is a beautiful woman. I never really... There was never, maybe the first time I saw her, and before she worked for me or when she was, maybe, I might have hit on her. I don't even remember. It was a lot of drinking back then. But for years and years, I don't know. I guess I just always looked at the people who were working on our show as our work family. So, not really into incest. So, that wasn't a way that I thought about things. And I was a shock jock. The president of the United States, Bill Clinton, didn't have that same sort of discipline. The president of the United States had this girl, Monica Lewinsky, who was flirting with him because she's a young girl and young girls flirt, and she was probably a climber and looking to get in. And why not? You have access to the president. Maybe she legitimately liked him. She probably wasn't thinking straight. There's no way that Monica Lewinsky thought in any way, shape, or form that what ended up happening, what the story became, is what it was. An older, more mature person, someone with a little bit more experience in how the ways of the world works and the politicization of Washington, D.C. might have gone, yeah, maybe this is it. But she wasn't. Again, she was a kid. And it was perfectly fine for all of us to just destroy her. She was the butt of so many jokes. Mr. Nice Guy, Jay Leno. This is why I don't think he's a nice guy. We had a discussion the other day about talk show hosts and who's the best talk show host of all time. And I came down on the side of Conan for one reason and one reason only. Conan seems like a truly, genuinely kind dude. He seems like a nice guy. Jay Leno plays like a nice guy. Yet back in those days, and we covered it, Letterman has an edge. Letterman doesn't even pretend to be a nice guy. Letterman is just an edge. But back in those days, Mr. Nice Guy, Jay Leno, routinely, night after night after night, absolutely brutalized a young girl on national TV, turning her into the butt of every water cooler joke for the next 6 months to a year. And that's despicable. And that is not something that a nice person would ever do. And you can't say, it was a different time. He was a 40-year-old man. What are you talking about? It was different times. He was a fully grown, world-savvy individual. He knew what he was doing. They made the calculation that it was perfectly fine to destroy this young woman. And that's what happened. All in the defense of Bill Clinton. And I didn't have a problem with Bill Clinton. I liked Bill Clinton. But, let's look back at the way this played out. Monica Lewinsky does not suck. Okay, so this season of Ryan Murphy's hit series American Crime Story is going to deep dive into the Clinton impeachment through the perspective of the women involved. Lewinsky, who was initially reluctant to give Ryan Murphy the green light on a show that would rehash her past, eventually approved of the series once Murphy made her a producer and gave her the ability to weigh in on sets and scripts and whatever else she had. That's the other thing about Monica. She has, as I said, she has basically stayed out of the spotlight. She does not seem to be anyone who has any interest in rehashing all of this or milking it or, starting a YouTube channel. She's she seems to have played this properly. She seems to have just gone away because plenty of opportunities for Monica Lewinsky to cash in this, in some way, shape, or form throughout her life, and she hasn't. She went away, which is why we're all shocked when we see a picture of her, because she's turned into quite a beautiful woman. So Ryan Murphy, and Ryan Murphy, look, this American Crime series is fantastic. I've seen every one of them. I will devour this one. What he does is he takes a huge moment in American recent culture, and he breaks it. He turns it into a 10-episode television series. The People versus Oj Simpson was the most fun I've had watching TV in a very long time. I mean, despite the dark undertones, it was, come on. You had David Schwimmer as Kim Kardashian's dad. You had OJ hiding out in Kim Kardashian's bedroom, a 10-year-old or 8-year-old Kim Kardashian's bedroom. It was fun. It was good. And Ryan Murphy does a good job on these. The Versace one about Andrew Cunanan driving around the country, murdering men, and then ending with the murder of Versace and his standoff on a boat down there in Miami. That was fantastic. And I know there's more. But anyway, the recent one here is going to be all about the Lewinsky thing and the Clinton scandal, impeachment. It's going to rehash all of that. Another big moment from our not so distant American past. She didn't want to be involved in it. When it first came up, she was like, you know what? No. And Ryan Murphy's like, look, I really don't want to make this unless you're okay with it. And she's like, yeah, I'm not really okay with it. I don't want to rehash all of that. And so Ryan Murphy said, okay, what if we do this? What if we bring you in? Instead of just making it about you and having you be a person that has to sit there on her couch and watch it with everybody else, you can watch it and be involved in the process of how it unfolds. And you can be a part of the decisions. Anything controversial, we'll listen to you. We'll give you a producer credit. And ultimately, whatever the end product is, it's going to have your okay, which is very generous. And if I was a television producer, which is my dream job, if I were a television producer, I would have wanting to tell this story. I would have probably had that same approach with her, because the story can't be a hit piece on her. In 2021, this story cannot be a politicized hit piece on Monica Lewinsky. We've come through that. All that I just said about her, about how shameful we were in the way that we dealt with her, how shameful people like Jay Leno were about dealing with Monica Lewinsky. She doesn't deserve our admiration or our respect, but she deserves a pass for one thing, her behavior as a 20-something. What was your behavior as a 20-something? Mine wasn't so great. There are behaviors from my 40s that I would like to have back. And I'm working hard at it. Maybe we should all work hard. Own your past. Own your past. Own it. Try and be better. So he goes to her and he gives her all of these options. And she finally comes around and she's like, okay. Now, there was a story a couple weeks ago about this as well, about a production decision that was made about what was going to be depicted in the 10-episode series of Impeachment, American Crime Story. There's not going to be the BJ scene. They are not going to show they're not even going to allude to it. There's not going to be some tricky camera work where you see her walk into his office and then disappear. That's pretty hack. They've decided not to do that. Why? Because we all know what happened, and it's not porno. This is a story. If you need that level of gratuitousness to enjoy this, then you're not enjoying it for the right reasons. So they're not going to do that. They're just going to say about what happened, right? Because what this story is apparently about is, the impeachment, but specifically it's about the women that were involved. So you got Monica Lewinsky, and you've got, who was the other one? I can't remember her name now. Sarah Paulson is playing her. The woman, she's passed away, I believe. The woman that set her up. So she's not Linda Tripp. That's it. I'm sorry. Linda Tripp was her name. So it's going to be, the story of how the women, because this whole thing started because of women backstabbing each other. That's Linda Tripp. A young probably frightened or creeped out, or what? Not even creeped out, because again, she initiated. But a younger woman goes to an older woman who she at the time believed was a mentor and tells her about this situation that she has found herself in with the president of the United States. And this woman, acting as a mentor, doesn't actually help her. That pretends to help her, but deeks right, deeks left, and then goes right to the political opponents of the president at the time. Goes right to him. Hey, guess what I know? I mean, women, man. Women. You know, we men are at each other's throats. You women need to be better than us. That was a really despicable. And I am interested in seeing Sarah Paulson portray Linda Tripp, because that's odd. Linda Tripp had some, we'll call them, very unique features, and Sarah Paulson has features that are traditionally aligned with beautiful people. So that's going to be an interesting pull for Sarah Paulson. But Sarah Paulson is probably one of Sarah. I said it last night on the show. We have 3 female national treasures in this country: Catherine O'Hara, Allison Janney, and Jean Smart. And there's a good chance that, in a couple of years, when she gets a little bit older, we might be elevating Sarah Paulson to that, because Sarah Paulson is a banging actress. Or is it actor? Again, don't be gender specific with your role. Okay, whatever. She's tremendous at what it is that she does. Lewinsky, who was initially reluctant, gave Murphy the green light for the show. She didn't want it necessarily to rehash her past, but she eventually approved when she was giving approvals of scripts and whatnot. Here's what writer Sarah Burgess says, quote, "All I care about is what Monica thinks," said writer Sarah Burgess. The Hollywood Reporter adding that Burgess grappled with a desire to do the right thing by her subject, as she initially left the thong scene out due to fear of re-traumatizing Monica. So again, back to what the story is about. We talked about how they're not going to do the BJ scene. But another one of the big provocative moments from that story was when Monica Lewinsky, supposedly wearing a skirt, teased the president of the United States by walking away from him and flipping her skirt up and shaking her butt at him. Now, a lot of people said, see, she's a honeypot. It's all her fault. He's a man. A man can't be held responsible for when he gets turned on. Well, apparently we can in 2021. Chicken's coming home to roost, people. So that scene was going to be left out, because the writer, again, is looking to tell the story from the perspective of the victim. And yes, Monica Lewinsky is the victim in all of this. But to her credit, and why I say Monica Lewinsky does not suck, she said, no, I know that scene is going to depict me in a less than flattering manner, but it is what happened, and I was complicit to some degree in trying to lure or turn on the president. So Monica Lewinsky fought to actually have that, which is, again, not going to be flattering to her. She fought to have that scene remain in it. And that's, she just seems like a pretty cool chick. Okay, so this airs in September, and we'll be able to see that on, I don't know if it's all of his stuff, Ryan Murphy, all of his stuff used to be on FX. But he recently signed a huge deal with Netflix, so I'm not sure if that's going to be. I think it's going to be on Netflix only. I don't think he has anything to do with FX anymore. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? I'm checking in the chat room, see what we got going on here. Again, we do this show every day at noon, just for a couple of hours. We talk about the stuff that's going on. Any updates on Afghanistan? That's probably, let me just pull up quickly and see what by the way, when I say updates, what I mean is I'm just going to look at what's the banner on CNN. All right, breaking news. Pentagon, number of U.S. service members killed in the Kabul attack. There's going to be a Pentagon briefing on what's happening here at 2 o'clock. We're going to hear from the president. Once again, earlier today, 2 bombings outside Kabul airport. That was the big news when we started today. 2 bombings outside Kabul airport. A number of U.S. service members have been killed. We don't have the numbers. A number of innocent Afghani civilians have been killed. It is a complete cluster F. So, all right, we don't see anything here. All right, should we just go through? Let's just do some quick, what else did I want to get into? Let's see. Uh, oh, here's something that was posted on Facebook that I wanted to say regarding the Afghanistan situation. We haven't given two thoughts to this war in 19 years, but now all of a sudden everyone has an opinion on what to do next. Also, we won our objective 20 years ago. We were pissed. They attacked us. We dismantled the government that we deemed responsible, and we started our nation building. We became, for lack of a better word, colonizers, and now we are reaping. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. What else is trending? Let's see. Let's go through here. Venmo is trending. Venmo's giving out money. Hey, you guys are on Venmo? Everybody's on Venmo. I was at a ball game the other day. I saw they were the tipper guys were. You're supposed to tip the guys who give you stuff. This one guy gave out his Venmo number to somebody. I was like, okay. I'm like, that's good. Venmo is the money sharing service that makes it much easier for people to pay people. So, like, let's say you've got a guy that does your lawn. Right, instead of the way my mom used to do it is she would just put the money in an envelope and just place it in the door frame. And when the guy was done mowing the lawn, he would just grab the envelope. We're not doing that anymore. Now there's a way. Venmo has made it much easier. You just join Venmo, and anybody else that's on Venmo, if you want to send them a couple of bucks, you just go to their thing. Your bank account, your checking account is linked to your account, and I guess that still scares a lot of older people. But hey, man, everybody's doing it. The biggest bank robbery in history could probably occur if somebody took down Venmo and took I don't know how that would work, but it's not a real concern. I mean, Venmo is backed by all the right people, and it seems to be taking over. Seems to be the way that we're all working. Well, Venmo is giving out $10,000 today. Here's what they tweeted and why they're trending. We're giving away $10,000 today. Retweet this. Drop your Venmo handle and tag a study buddy. So this is for kids going back to school. Because honestly, that's a kid is out at school. They got a Venmo. Their parents are 200 miles away in the hometown, and the kid's like, Dad, I really need $50 tonight. So now instead of Dad having to get in the car and drive down to whatever bank the kid has and making a deposit inside that kid's account, or however, the old days of Western Union, I need you to send me $100, and then you'd go and you'd wait outside some sketchy check cashing place for the Western Union to go through. Well, that's not how it's done anymore. It is instant. Venmo is just. Somebody paid me $1,000 on Venmo recently, and I was amazed. It was like he hit send and my thing went bing and it was available. The other thing is, by the way, if you get Venmo, get the card. Absolutely get the card. What are you going to do without the card? Get the card. Get the Visa Venmo bank card so that you can just use whatever's in your Venmo. I think there's probably going to become a time where a lot of people aren't even going to have bank accounts anymore. They're going to have savings accounts. Maybe they'll still be involved in those kinds of things. But as far as their everyday checking and everyday spending money, the use of a debit card, it's probably going to be a Venmo card. So Venmo is trying to, get some more people involved. I mean, it's big. Venmo, we are giving out $10,000 today. Retweet this, drop your Venmo handle, and tag a study buddy. We might send you both $100, $250, or $500, but you must follow Venmo, and no purchase is necessary. Ends 8/26. U.S. only, 18+. Venmo except requirement rules. So that's fun. So go ahead. If you're not on Venmo, join Venmo today. And, tag Venmo. Doesn't necessarily say. I guess they're assuming that you have to already be a person who's involved with Venmo. So, all right, let's find here. Let's see what's trending. Let's do this one more time. We're running out of, and we'll go back to this. Excuse me, folks. There you go. See, we'll be back here at 10 o'clock to do some other, a couple more. Although, quite honestly, if something really big happens with Afghanistan, although I know that I want to keep doing this with, my break-ins, my breaking news. Hey, something's happening. Want to keep it more America-based, more domestic. Who knows what's going to happen with Afghanistan over the next few hours. So, follow me at any of those links, the Twitter, the Facebook, or YouTube, however you do it, to be, okay, wait a second. Something is trending here now. Is this new? No. Give me real-time searches. Has there just been an explosion in Chandler, Alabama, or Chandler, Arizona? Let's see. I can't tell. Doesn't say when this. Oh, 15 minutes ago. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into this. Trending number 2 right now says now 15 minutes ago, Chandler, Arizona. Explosion in Chandler causes roof collapse. 4 people are injured. All right. This just looks like some sort of industrial place. This, it's not okay. Those things happen. Terrible world. Make sure and hug your kids. Make sure you kiss your wife before you walk out the door every day, because God knows you ain't gonna make it back. Somebody named Peter Tom Roth is trending. Do we know who this is? He founded a skincare brand. I don't know what that is, but he's in the news because he's dating Anne Heche. Remember Anne Heche? Boy, oh boy, I don't like Anne Heche. Anne Heche became famous for dating Ellen DeGeneres before Ellen DeGeneres found Portia, who, talk about upgrading. Anne Heche was an actress who was dating Steve Martin, and I don't know, she ended up ditching Steve Martin and hooking up with Ellen DeGeneres, and they were a very public lesbian couple, Hollywood couple. They were trailblazers in that arena. And then Ellen and Anne Heche broke up, and Anne Heche is no longer a lesbian. And Anne Heche, and, I mean, if anything ever seemed like a career move, gay for pay, as they used to say, I think that's because Anne Heche has been almost exclusively with men over the past 20 years, and now she's dating some guy. Let's see what else is trending here. CM Punk. I love CM Punk. He lives in my hometown. I don't even like wrestling, but I like CM Punk. AJ Lee reacts to CM Punk mentioning her on AEW Dynamite. I don't know what that's about. That's wrestling stuff. Heidi Klum is trending. Heidi Klum laughs off America's Got Talent wardrobe malfunction. Oh, what happened? I'd be interested in that. What happened to Heidi Klum? Let's see. Although, again, this is a sketchy source. Page 6. Anytime you see anything in page 6, oh, I see what it is. Apparently, she was wearing a Heidi Klum-esque outfit, which means a hot outfit. And at some point, she bent over and you could see her butt cheeks. Oh, boy, I could see why that would be trending in the United States. That seems important. And she's laughing it off because that's what cool people do. Let's move over. Let's just jump. There's really not a whole lot of big, interesting things that are trending today. Dare we jump over to Twitter? Fortnite, I mentioned that. Fortnite is apparently doing something now with Martin Luther King. I don't know if that works. They're going to drop him into the game? I don't understand. I don't understand Fortnite. I do understand Martin Luther King, but let's just not worry about that, shall we? Let's check the entertainment things. Let's see what's trending in entertainment. Probably most of the stuff I already went through. Number 1 trending in entertainment across all platforms in the United States, Kingsman. See, I don't like to share these or to even discuss these because most of the stuff that trends in the entertainment section of the trending topics, those are all put out there by PR people, and they're all stuff that's put out like a new movie, a new trailer gets released or something like that. It's not really news. It's placed there purposefully. It's not something. Let's check Twitter. Let's see what's happening on Twitter right now. Twitter, of course, is a trending topic spot that I typically don't like to go to, only because it is so divisive. It is so completely ridiculous. And you have to choose one side, and all it does is it's a shit-stirring trend list. Although, number 1, look at me. This is why I'm half idiot. Maybe even more if you ask some people. The number 1 trending topic right now on Twitter is the most undivisive thing. Oh, geez. Undivisive. I just walked into that, right? Because now we're going to have people finding ways to be divisive over National Dog Day. National Dog Day. It's national. What would we do without dogs? Seriously. Dogs do something for the human spirit that is incalculable. They are loyal. They will you can yell at a dog and it gets over it right away. It always comes back. A dog doesn't hold grudges. A dog is going to give you comfort. A dog is going to give you companionship. And once again, I always say this, I don't trust people who don't like dogs. If you don't love dogs, there's something about you. Unless, of course, you've had a traumatic experience. I always, you can't make sweeping statements anymore. We can't make sweeping statements anymore. It's that we shouldn't make sweeping statements anymore. At least that's how I feel about it. Be a little bit more thoughtful in our everyday conversations. So some people might have perfectly reasonable explanations for not loving dogs. But if you just don't love dogs because you don't like dogs, that says a lot about you. So I guess today is a big push to National Dog Day. Celebrate your dog. Love your dog. Give your dog a steak. Give your dog something good today. It's National Dog Day. Give them a little something. You don't know what's going on. Trust me. That's the other thing that's great about dogs. They're stupid and they're extremely easy to manipulate. That's, just if you got a piece of meat, you can make a dog do anything. And that's probably one of the reasons humans like dogs so much, because there's almost nothing else in this universe or in this life that is going to be able to be tricked into doing whatever the hell you want them to do with a piece of meat. And a piece of garbage meat, too. Do you know what I could do? You know what I could get my dog to do with it's not my dog. It's the property dog where we're staying. I could get her to do almost anything with just a little nub of a hot dog. Not even the good meaty part of the hot dog. Just like the end nub of the hot dog. If she smells my hand has been near a hot dog, she's going to do whatever the hell I want. And that is another reason why I think we all love dogs. National Canine Dog Day. National Dog Day. Every canine has its day. August 26 marks International Dog Day, with people around the world taking a moment to celebrate humans' best friend. I've always been interested in how we got dogs. Why was it that dogs back in the cave days are the ones that, over time became domesticated and became man's best friend? Why not squirrels? Why were dogs, they believed that the reason that dogs became domesticated is because all the way back in the cave days, when you would make a kill and you'd bring it home around the campfire, and you and your caveman wife and your caveman kids, you'd be sitting there, you'd be eating and smelling good. The wolf packs would smell that, and the wolf packs would come around, and the wolf packs that came in hard, came in heavy, came in looking to kill people, they got their heads knocked off. Cavemen were tough. Cavemen weren't afraid of no wolf. A wolf comes in, your bonfire where you're feeding your family, that one got killed. So over time, the less aggressive wolves were the ones who got closer and closer to the humans as they ate in their caves. And over years and years and years, they started to realize, dogs that is, wolves that is, these wild animals, they started to realize that if they just played it cool, those people were going to go to sleep and you could eat the scraps that were around. So it became more and more natural for cave people to encounter these wolves, and these wolves who weren't getting aggressive, because again, over the course of 500 years of cave life, the dogs realized that, oh man, if we come in hard and heavy trying to steal that meat, they're going to kill us, because those cavemen, those are big, scary, ape-looking people, and we're just dogs. Yeah, we're wolves. We're badass wolves, but these guys, they got big clubs, and they're just going to kill us. And we might get our pound of flesh. We might bite them or whatever, but ultimately, we're going to end up dying. So the dogs eventually evolved to be trusting of people, or at least, maybe not trusting, at least understand the dynamic at work here. That we're not going to eat anything, we're going to leave bones behind, and when the humans fall asleep, the dog can move in and eat all that. And then as time progressed, the less aggressive dogs, and then suddenly dogs, they started just hanging out all the time, and they started to be fed, and that's why we have dogs today. Well, why not squirrels? Why not rabbits? Why not? Well, I imagine because the dogs ate the squirrels and the rabbits. That's probably why, now that I worked this through. Why wasn't it the squirrels that were patiently waiting around because while they were patiently waiting, they'd been scooped up and eaten by the dogs. So it's National Dog Day. It's time to celebrate your dog, your animal. If you want one, go down to the shelter. Maybe today be a good day to get yourself a dog. And by the way, my last dog that I had, I purchased her in the mid to late 90s, and I had her. She was a purebred husky, and I loved her. Her name was Blue, and she was an awesome dog, and she was my best friend for a number of years. But I don't know that if I were to get a dog these days, I don't know that I would get a pure breed. I've really come around on the idea that you need to go down to the shelters and you need to get yourself one. And if you think that all you're going to get is some bum dog down at this, you are wrong. The shelter has amazing dogs. This dog that we have here, which is on the property where we do this, she's apparently a full bred Louisiana Catahoula leopard dog, and she is awesome. And she was a throwaway. She was a throwaway dog. She's not like some beagle, greyhound, wiener dog mix weird concoction that a lot of people see. I don't want some weird, freaky looking dog. First of all, there are no weird, freaky looking dogs. All dogs are awesome. Some dogs are so hideously ugly that they come full circle and they're really cute. But don't you dare say that. But honestly, you can go down there and you can get yourself a really awesome animal. And more people are doing it. And I think that's because of the awareness. 20 years ago, 25 years ago when I got my dog, there wasn't really that big of an awareness. It was still, no. My dog is a purebred pit bull. My dog is a purebred Great Dane. My dog is a purebred. That's not really that important anymore. And if you truly love dogs, there are a bunch of dogs that are going to be put down. You can save a dog's life. What better way to start out your relationship with your future best friend than to save a dog's life? So I think that's dog days too. Dog days of August, probably, there's something to do. All right. What else is trending here? Again, we got the Venmo. We've been through all of this, football stuff. Epic Games. This is the Fortnite thing. The announcement of a Martin Luther King Jr. experience on Fortnite titled March Through Time has promoted some discussion. IGN Games, Epic Games, and Time Studios have teamed up to create Fortnite March Through Time, an experience that pays homage to the life and achievements of Martin Luther King Jr. I could probably riff on this better if I had any idea whatsoever of what this was. I don't know what Fortnite is. I know my son loves it. My son plays it. I know that, right? You do the floss, right? Then the character, you can do that. I've seen people are dropped into. I have no idea what is going on in Fortnite or how they could sort of simulate some form of Martin Luther King storyline into it. I'm sure people are going to have problems. I'm sure it's trending. I'm not going to dive in, but I'm pretty sure people have some problems with that because Martin Luther King. Ugh. Let's see here. Oh God, Jake Paul is trending. Jake Paul is trending. You mean Jake Paul? And there are like 4 of these giant blonde mutants running around there on YouTube. Aren't they all like brothers? I don't know which one is which. Are they both starting to box or whatever? But this Jake Paul guy is apparently going to face off against Tyron Woodley, which is, here's the problem. Is it right? Is this the same guy that fought Ben Askren and like knocked him out with one punch? Ben Askren, probably one of the best wrestling MMA fighters of all time, a guy who in his MMA career was undefeated, never actually got to the UFC because he held out for money and Dana wouldn't pay money to a wrestler, and it was, that whole thing. But then Ben Askren gets a big payday to go fight Jake Paul in a boxing match. Again, one of the best wrestlers, to fight Jake Paul, a YouTuber, and he gets knocked out. And I'm telling you, there was a fix. I am telling you, there is no way in a real fight in a street, if Ben Askren and Jake Paul got into it in a parking lot over a parking space, Ben Askren would break him in half. So the idea that he was knocked, well, he's not a boxer, but also there was a fix there. He went down. So I guess it looks like Jake Paul is going to fight again. He's fighting Tyron Woodley, who is now, this is a whole different thing. Tyron Woodley is a striker. Tyron Woodley is not just a wrestler, and he is a tremendous wrestler. But are they going to box? Is this again? Is this now a YouTuber who's been training to box for the last year, taking on a professional fighter who's not a boxer? Oh my God. I despise this guy. There's no real story that goes with it. Let's see here. Oh my God. Wow. Jake Paul is apparently when they say you're a YouTube influencer, they ain't kidding. He's got a lot of people. All right, here's one guy. Woodley has a bomb of a right hand, but mostly he's a very elite wrestler. Check out some of his early UFC fights. He had some dope knockouts. Yeah, man. I mean, Tyron Woodley is legit. He's a former champion in the UFC. He's not an old man. He's a young man. So I guess what I would caution you with, if you're going to plop down whatever it is they're charging for this pay-per-view, these Jake Paul fights are not on the up and up. They are not. Although, I mean, I really thought when he fought, and I don't know if it's him, right? Isn't there another guy? Is Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad? Is he involved in these people? I don't know. But there's Jake Paul. Here, I'll go back to the chat room. Maybe somebody here can explain it to me. I'm an old man. I don't know. Trying to see if anybody can help me out on the Jake Paul stuff. I got no idea. Okay. If you're going to plop down, a word to the wise, if you're going to plop down your money on this, I don't believe that any of these, I think these are all exhibitions, right? Are they sanctioned by a state body? I don't know how they could be. But again, what I thought was going to happen with Ben Askren, because Ben Askren is, a real fighter, and Jake Paul is just a YouTuber who has trained to box the last year or so. What I thought was really going to happen, because Jake Paul ran his mouth. He trash talk outside of the ring like crazy. He trash talks in the ring. That's his whole thing. He's a shit stirrer. He's one of the worst human beings on the planet as far as I'm concerned. He's a big problem, and a big problem we're all having to deal with now. Other people behaving like the shit talking Jake Paul. So what I thought was going to happen with Ben Askren, seriously, even though it was a boxing match, I thought they were going to go ding, and Ben Askren was going to go, yeah, fuck this boxing, and just take him down and pound his ass, because there would be absolutely nothing Jake Paul could do if Ben Askren decided, yeah, we're not just boxing, kid. We're going to really do this because you need to get... And apparently there was a contract signed. I imagine that Ben Askren was paid a certain amount of money and didn't want to jeopardize that. But I would argue that Ben Askren, had he done that and shocked the world and disavowed his contract, unless there were penalties in place, if you take him down to the ground instead of just box him, you will not only lose your entire pay card, you will have to pay. So maybe something like that was agreed to. Once again, here I am hoping that Tyron Woodley is different, though. Tyron Woodley does have bombs in his fists. So if Tyron Woodley connects with Jake Paul, I can't believe I spent this much time talking about Jake Paul. All right, let's see. Let me jump into the Logan Paul. Thank you, Alan. Alan, an old friend of mine who was there for me when I needed help. Logan Paul, that's right. But not Aaron Paul, right? I don't think it's... and it was his brother who fought Mayweather. I don't even... Jake Paul is related to Logan Paul. Yeah, they're brothers, Kimberly. That's what I thought, at least. Or maybe not, if I'm wrong. And then for some reason, I always add in the guy from Breaking Bad, Aaron Paul. Like, I think he's one of them. I don't know. He's probably not. All right, I'll catch up with some of you in the chat room here. Let's see what you guys have been talking about as we've been going through all the trending topics. We'll start out with... Kevin Barber says that the irony of cancel culture and wokeness being thrown around in a cry wolf fashion is that it can negate and dull when it is truly needed to spotlight an issue. Absolutely right. That's the problem. The first big domino to fall was who? Harvey Weinstein, if we're talking about the Me Too movement, and that's what I'm talking about right now. So the big giant domino of Harvey Weinstein falls. And oh my God, was that dude a son of a bitch. I mean, not just for what he's accused of doing, and to be honest, probably did. I mean, do we all think did you ever seen his ex-wife, Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife? I think her last name was Chapman. I don't know what her first name is. She's one of the most beautiful women in the world. And then Harvey Weinstein is like a Jabba the Hutt cosplayer. Like, how does it? So obviously, this guy has used his influence in many ways. The casting couch is a very real thing. The stories about the things that Harvey Weinstein did to these actresses over the years is irrefutable. Everybody agrees with it, and that domino was a big one, and it fell. But then suddenly they went, okay. It's been 2 weeks of just absolutely destroying Harvey Weinstein, who's getting what he deserves. It takes for something else. Who else do you want to go after? Hey, let's go after. And then they just started picking through people. I mean, not to get political, but the one that really comes to mind is what Al Franken did. And again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier. What the previous, credit where credit is due, what the previous administration understood is that you could do anything, you could be accused of anything, you could say anything. And if you just weather the 24 hours to 48 hours of outrage culture, you're going to be just fine, because the people who populate outrage culture are some of the most disingenuous and short-term thinking people there are. They're going to, exactly what I'm saying here about what happened after Harvey Weinstein. They're going to move on and they're going to find something else to be outraged for, because boy, when you first get outraged, those endorphins, it's like better than rolling on Molly, man. Your head just goes, I feel great. I feel listened to. I feel like I'm important. Well, you're not. You're not important. You're not great. That is just sort of some brain chemistry fart that's going on inside your head. And you want it again because now you're addicted to it. Now you're a junkie for that. Who else? Harvey Weinstein. Who else? Oh my God, there's a picture of a sitting senator pretending comically, when he was a comic, by the way, pretending to be honk on the boobs of some girl. Inappropriate? Absolutely. The reason for a sitting United States senator to have to step down? Absolutely not. And now we got guys like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, these absolutely crazy people with these far worse things, far more ridiculous. And they learned from the previous administration that if you just let it weather the storm, you don't have to really do any. People will forget, they'll move on. Now, Andrew Cuomo, that, first of all, Andrew Cuomo, he's just a real creepy, he just looks creepy. Andrew Cuomo's a different story. He had to step down. He probably wouldn't have quit. He probably would have torn a page from the previous administration's playbook, and he would have weathered that storm. He would have just sat it out. He did it with the nursing home scandal. He had a nursing home scandal where he was accused of allowing all these old people to die because of his protocols put in place during the early stages of the pandemic. And it was horrible. And they tried to get him out. And oh boy, he weathered it. It went away. He was fine. But then this latest one that's, just recently occurred. He stepped down on Monday as governor of New York. This was the state legislature. They got involved. He didn't have any choice, but he was dug in. He wasn't quitting. He looked at what happened before with that previous administration. He went, nah, I'm not going to be another Democrat, Al Franken. I'm going to ride this one out. And then the New York State's legislature said, no, you're not. You might be there. You might be in the place where you're no longer bowing to pressure. But quite frankly, all the other Democrats, your supposed team here in the New York State legislature, we're not there yet. We still think you should go. And maybe he should, maybe he shouldn't. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about is the decision that the individual makes, whether to weather the storm or to step down, is something that has been very fluid over the last few years. And it does not seem like the Democrats, which, maybe good for them. All right. Lastly today, what do we got here? This is also trending. Cole Beasley is trending again. And we know why. He's spouting off about the masks and whatever. I don't want to get into that. All right. So we're gonna pretty much call this a show. This has been a good 2 hours. Again, be monitoring the what do we call them? Be monitoring all of the links to my Facebook page and my YouTube page and all of that good stuff. You can find them right here. There you go. And don't forget to rally back here at 10 o'clock tonight, where we'll do another sort of day in review. I'm sure that we'll have stuff that has developed here in the Afghanistan situation. We've got a Pentagon briefing coming up here at 2 o'clock Central Time. The president is probably going to speak. If the president doesn't come out and talk about this after coming out and talking about it every day for the last, if he's hiding now, and look at that. Look at what's trending on Twitter. Where is the president? People are outraged. Where is the president? Well, he's probably working some stuff out right now, but they are right in one aspect. The president of the United States needs to come out and explain to us, the people of America, how we're going to get these folks in Afghanistan who pledged their lives to us, and we made a promise that if everything went to shit, we were going to get them out. He's got to explain how we're going to pay off on that. He's got to explain how we're going to get these people out without just simply, I'm looking right here. Yeah, nuke them all. Just nuke them all. We're not going to just nuke Afghanistan, okay? We will hopefully never again we'll use the nukes when the aliens come. And only if we've got a certain political party in office. It depends on, because when the aliens show up, we're going to have a choice. Do we put up the signs that say, welcome to Earth, or do we just start launching every nuke in our arsenal at the first spaceship that shows up? I don't know, but I look forward to that day. All right, we'll be back at 10 o'clock tonight for more of Pugs Moran Live. Again, please help me out. Follow us on all of those links, and I'll be in the chat room in a few minutes. Bye, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.